Well, hello everyone and welcome to the Basics of Life. My name's Ken Burkey and Kelly Ricketts is here. Kelly is going to, I got quite a few questions for you, but Kelly is works with the foster care system, has an organization called 127. I want to talk to you about this, your passion. I think this is a great show for all of us, how we can help children in our own community. But before that, Kelly, you sing. So this is just personal interest. She's nervous about what music have you been listening to lately? Do you listen to all kinds of genres, or
I listen to all kinds of genres.
Do you? Me too.
Yeah,
too.
I listen to music with my kids.
Oh, okay. Well,
so Kids Bop is what I've been listening to lately.
Kids Bop?
Yeah. It's like, they take the Maroon 5 songs and make them appropriate for kids and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is awkward because her kids are 22 and 24, so we're not. No. How old are your kids?
They're 7, 6, and 20 months.
7 and 6, really?
I know. It's crazy. They grow up fast.
They grow up fast. Yeah. So it's called what bop?
Kids Bop.
And they take secular, popular contemporary songs and make it into. So that's kind of sly.
Yeah.
See, that's sly because then they grow up knowing.
Right.
Do they know who Maroon 5 is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I saw on TV the other day Maroon 5's original name was like Jimmy Hester and the somethings. It was like the strangest name.
Probably started in the 90s or something.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, so you doing good?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, Kelly. So what's the strangest thing? Kelly sings too. She's a singer. So not karaoke, like the real deal. So what's the strangest thing that's ever happened when you're singing? Did you ever forget lyrics? Did you ever have hair problems?
Yeah. I've definitely forgot lyrics. That's been embarrassing. I think the worst, though, was not my mistake. It was they started the song in the wrong key, like the way wrong key. So I started singing like super, super high, and it was just getting higher from there. So another guy that was singing just took over, and
So who started the key in the wrong? Who was it?
That was Rob Welch.
Rob Welch, yes, he's a piano player.
He's threw me under the bus a few times.
Yeah, wrong key.
On my wedding, he played it in the wrong key too. That I was singing, a song that I was singing at my wedding.
You sang at your wedding? Mm-hmm. Where was I?
It was the reception.
Oh, it was the reception. Oh, I was there, but...
he played that in the wrong key, just slightly, just a half step, so it was okay. But
did you sing for your husband?
Yeah.
Wow. Where was I? I must have been in the buffet aisle.
It was the very last song.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, Kelly's an amazing, amazing lady, an amazing mom. Glad you talked about your kids. Why don't you talk a little bit about your journey into kind of the foster care system, and which led eventually to adoption?
Right. Yeah. So for us, we kind of, we had been married a couple of years, decided that we wanted kids. And we had been on, my husband and I had been on a missions trip to Africa. And out of that, that changed our lives. Our whole perspective changed. And we came home, and a group of us that had been on that trip wanted to start a Bible study. And we wanted to read the scripture and do what it says. And so we were studying James. And I woke up one night, couldn't sleep, and decided I'd read the Bible. It'd put me to sleep. And so, it does, reading. Right. So, I opened it, and we were on James 1. I got to James 1:27, and it says, "Pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress." And I saw the word orphans, and we had just cared for orphans in Africa, but I thought, how can I do that here?
Right.
And the foster children in our area came to mind. And, they're the orphans of our community. And
did you know much about the foster system at that time?
I didn't. I don't even know why it came to mind. I guess I knew that there were foster children. But I don't know why. God is probably why that came to mind. And I really, in that moment, I was excited, and I felt like God had just told me, you're going to be a foster parent. And I had a flexible job, and I could do it. And, so I woke up my husband at 3 a.m, so excited.
Yeah, it must have excited him too.
Yeah, we're going to be foster parents. I just read this verse and God told me, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I don't even think he remembered that I woke him up the next morning. Because I'm like, so what do you think? And he's like,
he's like, I had a weird dream last night.
But he was not on board. You know, our hearts will be broken, and all of those fears that I think every person would have if they were considering being a foster parent. And so actually I had decided, okay, well, I'll be a CASA instead. And a CASA is a court-appointed special advocate, and they're the children's voice in court.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so that's something I could do without my husband. I could still help foster kids. And so I went through the whole training, and at the end of the training, my husband was like, okay, I think we're supposed to adopt. That's what he said. Not foster care, because then we'll get our hearts broken. But I think we're supposed to adopt. So
he made you go through all that training.
I know. I mean, it was good training. So I'm glad I went
Great
through
organization.
It is. So anyways, we decided we would adopt through foster care. And we went through that training and got our boys. They're biological brothers, 11 months apart. And we got them when they were 1 and 2, almost 2 and 3. And we actually got them, and our younger one turned 2 weeks after we had them. So we had 2 2-year-olds, and we kind of looked at each other like, what
did you just do?
What were we thinking?
Wow.
But it was really, I mean, that was a wonderful experience. I don't know, what else do you want to know about it?
Well, I think that this was introducing you to the foster system, and how many homes had those two-year-olds been in?
Well, that was when we went through the training is when we realized the need for foster homes. And when we got our boys, we were their 8th home.
In 2 years of life.
2 years,
Yeah, that's tough.
That's
just not really probably the ideal as far as
No, and the reason that happens is, you know, maybe there's some temporary foster homes. They were in the children's receiving home for some of that time in Sacramento, which is basically an orphanage. I mean, they try their best not to. They're a great place, you know, but it's not a home. And so they were shuffled around from home to home to home to home until they got to us. And I mean, I can't even imagine. Now we have a 20-month-old who's been with us for almost a year. And I couldn't imagine if in that year she was being shuffled around from place to place, what that would do to her. So we really started to see how huge the need is.
So in that, you started the 127 organization, which is based on that scripture you read, James, pure religion, which is great because there's a lot of bad information and a lot of people with religious baggage or a lot of misinformation. But if you want to get down to the purity of what God's really about, it's like take care of people who are dealing with injustice and orphans and widows. I mean, that's about as pure as it gets. So, sorry. No, go ahead.
Well, when we, decided that we wanted to adopt from foster care, we really didn't know anyone who had adopted from foster care. We knew one person who had adopted internationally, and we asked them questions about their experience, but we couldn't find any resources or anything. And so that's kind of where the 127 organization started, is so that there was information out there. We have a support group for parents so that we can all support each other. So,
well, I think it's a great organization because, again, if you're even thinking about, do I even want to foster or do it as a couple or a family, where do you start? And so to be able to go to 127 because you have information meetings and those things where, it's not a setup. You don't have kids waiting for them there. But they can learn, how do I navigate this? Because it can be very, very intimidating. Because you could probably talk to this, but I bet you there's a lot of people out there that have thought about it, but then it's like, well, life gets busy. Where do I even start?
And there are a lot of misconceptions too about being a foster parent or children in foster care. A lot of people think that teenagers in foster care have done something wrong, and that's why they're in foster care, and that's not the case. They've been neglected or abused or abandoned, and that's the reality. So, there's those kinds of, and also there's a misconception that, you become a foster parent and then they bring a child to your doorstep and you get,
right.
here's your next foster child, you know,
yeah.
and it's not like that. You know, when you get certified, they'll call you and say, there's this child that just came into care, and they'll tell you everything they know about the situation. And is this something, do you think that your family is a good fit?
So you still have the final call.
Right.
Like you said, they don't, you know, ring the doorbell
right.
and run.
Right.
Yeah.
However, I always say to so many people that, you know, oh, I don't know if I could ever do that, or, well, I've been thinking about it, but it'd be so hard. And I told my husband this when he didn't want to be a foster parent. If a social worker knocked on our door with a child in hand and said, we don't have a home for them,
mm-hmm.
they've just been abused, we had to take them away from their parents, and we don't have a home for them, will you take them? Yeah. I would say yes. All of my friends would say yes. All of my family would say yes.
Right.
So there's just that, you know, taking the step,
mm-hmm.
I think, is the hardest part, because I think most people would have a heart to do that.
Right.
So.
Talk about our county, and there's some sobering statistics
mm-hmm.
just about our county and foster care.
Yeah, our county, there's about 250 children in foster care, and half of them, so I believe it's actually 500 have been taken into foster care through El Dorado County, but half of them have to be sent to other counties because we don't have enough foster homes.
Yeah.
So
the ripple effect of that is they get taken out of school, out of their own community.
Right, and the more we do this, I mean, I've met foster children and former foster children who have been from this county and have been taken out of the county, put, you know, in a Sacramento home where they've lost their parents, their siblings, some of them, their teachers that they've known, the kids that they've gone to school with their whole life, and they're in a whole different culture sometimes to them, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll come back after they age out of the system because this was their home. And
right.
So I've met some of those, and it's really sad that there wasn't someone, you know, and maybe there wasn't the awareness that we need more homes.
Yeah. Right. Another question here, because I want to go back to that, but the aging out process, is that getting better? Because the old, or maybe it's still the same, kid ages out.
Right.
A lot of homelessness because of that, because they have to leave their foster family.
Well, just a few years ago they're 18 and they're out on their own. And there used to be a rule that if the foster family kept that child, they couldn't still be a foster parent. It was just like horrible. So they had to be kicked out and on their own. Now there's a law into effect that they can stay in the foster home if the foster parents allow that. And also they can, if they want, they can be in a program that's for 18 to 21 year olds. Where the foster parent becomes more of a mentor, and they can enroll in college or job training. And it's really, I mean, if I think of myself at 18 versus 21, I was much more likely to have a chance at 21 than 18.
Right.
Yes. And the statistics with, I think 75% of our homeless population used to be in foster care.
Wow.
Because, and same with prisons and things, because if you could imagine being 18 and being out on your own with no family.
Yeah, right.
It's, you know, and even children who, foster children who then go to college, you know, they're the small statistic that does that.
Right.
And they're off at college, and now it's Christmas break, and the dorms are closed down, and where do they go? And they have to figure it out, you know, see if they can go with a friend or whatever. And so, I mean, everyone needs a family.
And it's a lot of, it's those things we take for granted that most people have family, and you just go, well, that's what you do. And these things you just don't think about.
Right.
Wow. Well, that sounds like better, though, as far as this new system, at least.
Yes. Yeah. And for some people, you know, who want to be that mentor role, but maybe not a foster parent for younger children, it's great. Or people who have, you know, they have an in-law quarters or something, and they can be a part of that program. So it's a great thing.
Well, I think the reason I wanted you on the show mainly is to talk about your music and your singing. But No, is to just raise awareness, and as a county, for us to say, let's take more ownership, because I think that's take care of our own. But with the time that's left, what would you say to people that, you know, one of the things that I've learned from you is that not everybody can be a foster parent or family. A lot more can. A lot more can. But all of us can be involved.
Right.
So talk about all of some of the ways we can be involved.
Well, CASA, like I said before, is a great way. You can be the child's voice in court. And so that, you know, I think it's CasaElDorado.org is their website. They're on Main Street, and that's a great way to get involved. Also, our 127 organization, we have like a wraparound team that wraps around the foster families. So supporting them when they first get a child, because sometimes people will be in emergency foster home and they'll have, you know, 2 hours notice or 24 hours notice.
Right.
And they're getting a sibling set of 3. And so we'll have people wrap around them, bring them clothes or furniture even. So, you know, you can donate furniture, you can donate clothes, you can bring meals. We also have people that we train that they are assigned to walk alongside the family. We call them care coaches. And they check in on the family. Do you need anything? You know, how can we help you?
Yeah.
So there are great ways to get involved that way too. And also, you know, if you want to be more involved in the foster system, you can call Child Protective Services, and they have people volunteer to give children rides to maybe therapy appointments or things like that, or supervise visits that the children have with their birth family. So there are really countless ways to get involved.
How do they get 127? Can they find out more information about 127?
Yeah, we have a website. It's 127online.org.
Okay.
They could also email me. It's Kelly, Kelly, at 127online.org.
Okay, we can put that up on the on the screen.
So I love answering questions, because everyone kind of comes into it with, I think this is where I could fit, or they don't know where they can fit, but they know I'm good at these things, or you know. So and I don't know, how much time do I have?
Do you want to tell a story?
Well, I just wanted to also talk about some of the misconceptions of the birth parents. You know, that they're these horrible people, and my husband and I, you know, when we decided to do this with our boys, it was like adoption so that we don't get our hearts broken. We didn't ever meet their birth parents or anything. But our youngest one, I'll call her baby Elle, we got her when she was 7 months old. And it was very much a foster placement, and maybe adoption would happen. And it's still a foster placement now. And I never, ever would have thought that's something that we would have done. And so I relate when people say, oh, that must be so hard. You know, you're going to get your heart broken. You must guard your, you know, all of the things that everyone says. It's like, well, I felt those same things. But we did it, because where else is she going to go? To 8 different foster homes before she's finally adopted. And we didn't want that for her. And so we took her with all of this risk, and she had twice a week visits with the birth mom. And, you know, I definitely was like, how is this going to be? And I don't want to have anything to do with her. You know, that I just want her to be out of the picture and to adopt her and have it. And anyways, we've formed this relationship with the birth mom, and to see where she's come from and why she's in this place. There's so much more understanding and compassion when you're actually there with someone. Anyways, I did want to say, when I started this, I thought it was, you know, we want to rescue these kids out of this horrible situation. You know, we rescue them out of the abuse or out of the neglect, and then they're ours and they're with us and everything's wonderful. And I went back to the verse, James 1:27, and it says to care for orphans and widows in their distress. And I've realized, especially having our precious baby with us, we're walking with her through her experience. And being around other families in our group who have teenagers or children who have really been hurt, they're not rescuing them out of their situation. They're walking with them through it.
Wow.
And
that's good.
Yeah, and just to see what it does in the parents' lives, where you go, oh, it's going to hurt so bad, but I mean, life hurts.
Right.
And why not do something like this with your life, you know?
Awesome.
So anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was a great way to end this. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being here, and thanks for being with us here on the Basics of Life. Let's just a reminder again. We'll put it up, the 127 organization, how to get a hold of that, or how to get a hold of Kelly. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And again, thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next time.